what's up? So it's Ali and Julian here with Personal Finance Boss, and as you can see, if you're tuning in on YouTube, we have some new shindigs. So Julian went out and bought us all sorts of goodies so we can have better sound quality for you guys.
I mean, I'm pretty sure they can hear it. I hope they can hear it. For the amount of money we spent for this, the quality should definitely be there.
Yeah, it should be better.
So it won't be destroying your ears. Because definitely the audio quality needed improvement, and hopefully that's what we did.
And I'll try not to clap. So today we're going to be talking about an interesting topic that's kind of taken off in the last few years, and that is peer-to-peer lending. So it's very similar to the way banks do lending to organizations, but in this way, retail investors, so like me and Julian, can actually take advantage of loaning out money to different businesses, different organizations, and different corporations. So that's always interesting.
Okay, it looks like you're looking at the screen.
Am I?
Yeah.
Should be looking at the camera.
Yeah,
No, I got to get used to that. But yeah, there's no notes on his screen, so I got to look at the camera. But yeah, so peer-to-peer lending, it's something that is very, very interesting. It can be very lucrative at times. But essentially, what peer-to-peer lending is different borrowers coming together with different levels of investment, so very low capital requirements, and loaning out to businesses with different loans of different amounts of different years. And each company has different credit ratings. They need the money for different things. It could be bridge financing, it could be acquisitions, could be capital improvements, could be inventory. And you as the investor get to choose which company you want to loan out to, at what risk level, at what interest, at what year, the years of the loan. So it really allows that flexibility as an investor from that point of view.
Yeah, so before we go too far, peer-to-peer lending, is it only between lenders, not borrowers, and companies, or can it also be, can you borrow money on that?
You mean as an individual?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think as an individual you could borrow on those platforms.
Okay. So then it's
really for companies. Yeah.
Okay.
Companies can go. Any company, I do know any company can submit a request to get money, get a loan. Any company could submit a request. It's just that the lending organization, so the lending organization I use is called Lending Loop, which is in Canada. It's a big organization. I know in the UK they have Lendy, which I was looking at recently. And then in the States, I don't know, but there probably is one. It actually just got in Quebec recently. They weren't allowed Lending Loop. Because of like language, different regulations, and everything. It's always the language. Yes. It's always the language. But yeah, it's just coming about recently. But yeah, what was the original thing you were asking? Oh, if
it's only companies or individuals.
Yeah, so any company can submit a request, and that company will be vetted by the lending organization in terms of what they need the money for, what's their credit rating, their past history with paying back loans, and all that kind of sorts of stuff that goes behind a credit check.
Yeah. Okay. So when we talk about credit rating, what are the different ratings, and like why would that impact what does that mean for the lender or the investor, you in this case?
It would impact the interest rate because the reason why peer-to-peer lending exists, I think we should address that first.
Yes.
Is because these companies cannot go to the bank to get a loan.
They have went to the bank and they got declined.
Yes, or they've already gotten something from the bank, but they're maxed out at that level, so they can't get anything more. And the reason why they're going to the lending organization is they need the funding, they want to continue their operations, but they don't have the credit requirements to qualify at the bank.
Yeah, and I was also doing some reading, and they were saying how in some instances it's cheaper to go with a peer-to-peer lending because it doesn't have the same overhead the bank does.
Yes.
Now, if you're a company with a good credit rating, it's probably the case.
Yes.
But if the bank would decline you because you have a poor credit, then it's definitely, it's not going to be more expensive than a bank because you can't compare because the bank isn't lending to you, but it's going to be much more expensive than if you had a good credit rating.
Yes, for sure. And the first time you log in onto the site, if you actually want to check it out, you're going to see the really big dispersion and big range in terms of the interest rates that are offered. So good credit companies, so Lending Loop ranks them like A+, A, all the way down to, I think, E is the last one. And the A's run around between 5.8% to 8.8%. That's the rate they're going to get. So at the bank, that's right now with the interest rates, that's around what you're going to be getting.
Yeah.
So the A+ in some instances, like Julian said, it is going to be cheaper to go with the lending organization. And then the E's, we're looking at interest rates of about 23%
and
a year,
yeah,
which is ridiculous. It's higher than credit card interest rate. It's at insanely high. So that's why as an investor, it can be very interesting to kind of play around, diversify within your loan portfolio. But remember, the reason why the interest rate is so high is because the company's credit rating is so poor.
Yeah. Okay. So then we covered that. Now, why would companies go on these platforms? Because they need money. But
They need money.
What type of money do they need? Like you talked about bridge
It could be bridge financing.
Bridge financing, which means what exactly?
Bridge financing is when you need temporary financing. So let's say you're an accounting firm and you need tax season is always in April. So you're going to hire, let's say, 3 temp people for April and May, and you need extra cash to cover that payment for a little while.
Yeah.
Or you have a very big account receivable coming in let's say 2 months, and you need the cash for a month or so to kind of make sure your payroll is going through, make sure you're paying your suppliers. Or it could be like a construction company. There's a big project. They're only getting paid at the end. They need that financing to buy the equipment, hire the workers and everything.
Yeah, and also for some companies, it's expensive to keep cash because if you have a project that you can invest in and you need cash, well, you'd say, okay, let me spend the cash now, and then I may need to borrow for 3 days later on because I'm going to be short cash. So that's another example of bridge financing they would use.
The only problem is with the lending organization is it's not like a bank in the sense that they don't have any penalties for prepayment or anything like that. So if a company let's say a company takes a 20% loan for 3 years, $50,000, and it ends up they only needed it for bridge financing, they may pay that loan back in 3 months.
Yeah.
And you as an investor are kind of stuck. At least you got all your principal back and the 3 months interest, but now you have to go and find another place to put money. So
we can go more in depth of like the risks of peer-to-peer lending or just lending in general. That's definitely one of them. So prepayment risk. But before we get into that, companies can use them for bridge funding. You can use them just for, because they need a loan, because they can't get one at a bank. Do you know of any other cases?
For inventory is a big one. For hiring additional staff, for expansion. They always need money, really all different sorts. They need it maybe for a capital requirement. A lot of times, some companies, because their credit rating have improved, they may have gotten a loan in that organization in years prior that's at a higher interest rate. So they may be actually retiring an old loan, which is very common. And like Julian said, it's actually quite cost effective. You're paying a loan off at 20%, and now you're paying back interest at 16%, for example.
Did I say that?
Well, you kind of did like of using cash and different kind of stuff.
Okay, sure.
I'll give you credit for it.
I'm smart. Yeah, I'm very smart.
Well, you did a personality test earlier that actually showed that you use a lot of logic. So
I'm a man. Oh no! The podcast went there. Anyway, funny joke. Well, I find it funny, but I do. Moving on. So, as an investor. Peer-to-peer lending is a form of, investing in debt. So you're investing in a bond. It's similar in a bond to that sense, but it's more lucrative, correct?
I would say so. It's more risky and it's more lucrative, I would say so.
How would peer-to-peer lending be different from a bond?
Okay, the rates for sure.
Yeah.
Peer-to-peer lending is also illiquid. Bonds are very liquid, more liquid.
When you talk about the rate, like what's an average rate for a corporate bond in North America?
Right now, like let's say 5 to 7%.
Okay.
5 to 7% would be, I'd say, a good competitive rate for the rate environment we're in.
Okay, and then for the peer-to-peer lending,
it could be from 7 to 23.
Okay, and one of the benefits of going for to actually borrow money, so going to like a peer-to-peer lending service or to a bank, is because you get it much faster than a bond. For one, I would assume. Issuing a bond is lengthy, costly as well.
Yes, I would say like for the loans I've seen that have gone up, they're not in the same proportion as bonds. They're not in the millions ever. The most I've seen is maybe $300K.
Okay.
But these loans honestly get swallowed up within a day.
Okay.
Like 300,000 will come your way very quickly. But again, we're talking about small mom and pop shops, small restaurants, businesses like that, construction firms. They're not in the business of taking out loans or bonds of $25 million. They're not in that. They're not in that range. They're there for maybe $1 million max is what they want to take out.
Yeah, but if you go for $1 million and it's a bit more expensive to lend to borrow it, and then it's gonna kill you.
Yes,
an extra 2% is crazy.
Oh yeah. But again, these businesses are in that situation where they're not generating revenues on the scale of those big companies that are issuing corporate debt. These are smaller companies that are running, I don't know, they're running a bottom line of 100 to 200K a year.
Yeah.
Small businesses, small businesses for sure. But there is a lot of good businesses out there that are looking for that funding. And you as an investor, if some investors don't like the high, crazy, default, there is a possibility of default rates for sure with any of these loans, because they're not as reputable as these big businesses out there that are issuing the corporate debt. But you as the investor have to do your research. You can choose, if you don't want to go to that 23% range, you can stick with the 8 to 10% range, which you're getting A+, A- credit rating, which is fine.
And what's your strategy?
I've picked like a bunch of everything. So right now, I think my average rate is about 12.7%, which is a credit rating of about B-, like at the B's to C's credit rating.
And how do they pay you, or how do you get paid?
So you get paid every month.
Okay.
And you get a portion of your principal and your interest back every month.
Because the loans are amortizing loans?
Yes.
Meaning that you pay back part of the interest and all the interest and part of the principal?
Yeah.
Is it fixed, like if there's no prepayment, is it a fixed payment throughout the whole life of the loan?
Pretty much.
Okay, so every month you should be getting...
Yeah, just the proportion of the interest to the principal changes as you get closer to the maturity.
Okay.
That's how it is.
So is it calculated to be a fixed payment every time, or...
It's pretty much you're expecting, let's say like a $3.50 payment every month.
Okay. Because for a mortgage, like the payment remains the same over the life of the mortgage.
Yes.
But it's just that the proportion between principal and interest changes.
Yes.
So at the beginning of the mortgage, you pay a lot of interest. Towards the end of the mortgage.
If I remember correctly, it's pretty much the same with the peer-to-peer loans.
Okay.
It's pretty much the same. So it is good in a way, because bonds you're getting your principal at the end only.
Yeah.
And with loans you're getting a little bit of each month. So if, let's say, hypothetically, if you get a 3-year loan and someone defaults in month 34, let's say, which probably won't happen, you still got most of your principal and your interest back.
Okay, so then in that sense, it's a bit less risky than
a bond. Exactly, because with bonds, you're just getting your interest back for the most cases.
Yeah.
Most cases, you're just getting the interest back.
Yeah.
So in that sense, it's good. The rates are also higher than other investments.
Yeah.
It's a good chance to kind of diversify away from the stock market, but chances are if the economy is doing bad, small businesses, depending on what industry they're in, they'll also be facing a temporary shortage of cash. Exactly.
For sure.
They're going to get stomped on.
But it is interesting because for the equities, you make about 8 to 15% depending on what you invest in. And then here, it's a similar return.
Yes. And I've been doing it since November. I haven't had a default yet.
Yeah.
I haven't had a default yet. There are
it's not real wood.
Oh, well, maybe it'll work better then, right?
Not the floor.
But I haven't had a default yet. And when you go on these lending sites, they'll actually show what the default rate is. But remember, these lending organizations, they're also in the business of making money.
Yeah.
So they charge a servicing fee. They charge a management fee. But they're in the business of making sure the companies that they're issuing loans for are actually reputable. Otherwise, people won't use that lending organization.
If all the loans defaulted, then no one, they wouldn't be generating revenues. So, it's in their best interest.
Exactly. And another thing that I forgot to mention is the rate that is put on the loan. That rate is guaranteed for the duration of the loan. So it's not subject to change.
Okay.
You're going to get, if it's a 20% interest, you're going to be getting that every year for the loan. Doesn't change.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a variable rate loan, right?
No, it's not. It's a fixed rate loan.
Okay, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about risks of this earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So one of them is prepayment. So
yes.
Why, because for some people, prepayment is like, oh, it's a good thing. I got my money earlier, right?
Yeah.
So why,
I also
this
used
case,
to think that.
Why is it a bad thing?
Because you've chosen, you get excited about a 20% rate. I had one.
Ali gets excited about a 20% rate.
You don't get excited about 20%? Julian's good with 3. He likes GICs. But no, It's because you've allocated, let's say, like $300 towards this 20% loan, and then in 3 months' time they pay it all back, and now you have to go out and find another thing that's going to pay 20%.
Yeah, so instead of making, say, $800 of interest at the end of the year, you've only made $200 of interest,
Exactly.
but you got your money sooner.
Exactly.
But in your head, you were supposed to get $800 of interest, so
exactly.
It's sort of a negative in that sense, but obviously it's better than a default.
Yes, for sure. It's a million times better than a default. And that's why I was actually under the impression, we actually covered this in the CFA. This was a big part, like prepayment risk, extension risk, different risks with mortgages. And I was always under the impression, but wait, isn't it good if the loan is repaid back entirely? Because then as the bank or the lending institution, the person got all their money back.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, they don't have their interest now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, those greedy people.
Is extension risk a thing here? Probably not, because you can't extend the loan because it's terms.
No, you can get another loan for sure, and a lot of people get 2 loans. They'll go get 2 loans or after a year because their credit situation improved. The loan will reduce, so they'll issue another loan and then use the money to pay back, kind of like switching through, kind of like what people do with credit cards. If the interest is lower, they move it over to the lower credit card. But the only big risk I find is that the investments are completely illiquid. Yeah. And you can't sell them. You can't get out of it early. There's no early termination option. So this money really is, you're only going to get it back at the end of the loan.
Okay. And on average, how long are the loans for?
2, 3, 4, 5 years, you choose.
Okay.
You can choose, I think maybe 1 year as well. I haven't seen many of those, but you get to choose as the investor. And it does offer you flexibility in that case. You can choose the time you want. You can choose the company. They actually show you the financial statements. They're going to show you what the loan is used for, the guarantees. There's a place to ask questions and everything. So there is a fair amount of information available on these companies. Okay. And then you can look them up on obviously like the corporation directories and stuff, see where they're located and everything. Look at their reviews on Google. All of this is available to you as an investor, and you can actually check all of that out and choose where you want to put your money in. Some of them have like auto allocation options. The other good benefit I find is the capital requirements of loan. So Lending Loop, for example, you can fund a loan with as little as $25. Okay. So, the interest, like per month, you're going to be receiving, I don't know, like 35 cents payment, but it's still good. It's a start. Yeah. That's how you build. That's how you grow. And remember, it's the rate you're getting on your money as well. If you left it at the bank or even in the stock market, in some cases, you're going to be winning with the lending organization if they don't default.
Yeah, because if they don't default, then it's like a guaranteed, 12%, 10%,
exactly,
whatever.
Exactly.
If they don't default.
Exactly.
Now, for those who may not be super familiar with default, what does that entail? When does a company default?
When they cannot fulfill their obligations.
So if they're not making enough money in terms of revenue, sales, then they can't pay the employees, or they can barely pay the employees. But then when it comes to paying the creditors, so banks, people that actually lent money to the company, they no longer have the funds to do that. And so they default on their payment, meaning they can't make the payment anymore. And that's when investors sort of get screwed. Because if the company files for bankruptcy, then the assets get allocated depending on the negotiations that happen.
Yes, but most of the time in North America, the employees get paid first. Yeah. Then the senior creditors, then we trickle all the way down to our little equity investors, which are us. And we...
But for Lending Loop, it's not an equity investment.
No, but it's unsecured.
Debt.
It's completely unsecured debt. And obviously the lending organization is there because it's a bigger party. If in the case of a default, they're going to try to recoup as much as the investment as they can. But obviously there's no guarantees when you're recouping from the assets that are left. There's absolutely no guarantees. And the only thing I think that might work in your advantage in that case is that most of these businesses are sole proprietorships, and sole proprietorships means that one person is the individual owner, and they may or may not be personally liable for all the debts outstanding for the corporation. So someone might be personally liable on the other end for that $200,000 loan that they issued on Lending Loop, for example.
Okay, so then they would have to shell it out of their pockets.
Exactly.
If they have the money.
Yes. But you have to find the assets and stuff and go after them. That's the thing. And that's why that's why you want to go through an intermediary in this case, because you want someone to handle all of that in the case that it happens.
Because if you lent my company money, I defaulted, you would have to go and hire a lawyer and pay out of your pocket to get your $50,000 loan back.
Exactly. So, and you may be long gone in the Caymans or something, and I'll have to,
obviously,
unfortunately, fly down there and find you.
Yeah, so like you said, this investment's a great investment for people looking to diversify their portfolio. But if you know that you're going to need your money in 8 months, don't go and fund a loan that's going to be for a year, because you won't be able to pull your money out until the loan is mature.
Yeah, but you do get your principal and you get your payments back every month.
Yeah.
And if you reinvest those, it's compounding effect, by the way, guys. Just to keep that in. But you do get your payments back every month, so you are getting a little bit of it back. And you can take that out and use it for your expenses or other investments. But the majority of your money will remain locked in.
Yeah.
Till the end of the loan. That's the
Anything else you'd like to add about peer-to-peer lending?
Yeah, the fees. We can talk about fees quickly.
Yeah.
Fees on Lending Loop are 1.5%. So whatever the interest rate is there, they take minus 1.5%, and that's your rate.
So if the company says they're paying 10%, you'll get 8.5%?
Yes. Okay. So it's steep. They're making good money.
It's steep, but if you compare it to the MER on a mutual fund at 2%, 2.5% on the high end, then it's still cheaper.
Yeah. And there's a servicing fee. So when the loan is originated, there's a servicing fee. I don't know how much that is, but there is a servicing fee.
But that's paid by the company.
Yeah, that's paid by the company for sure.
So the investor is not affected by that.
Yes.
But, so usually, they would charge the company 2%. So if the company wants $10K, they're going to get $9,800. Yeah, it's good enough. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that in the end increases the effective interest rate of the company, because they're paying, 10% is $1,000 a year, but they're paying $1,000 a year not on $10,000 but on $9,800. So it makes their rate higher, but again, it doesn't affect us as an investor because we're not lending, borrowing money, we're lending it to them.
So yeah, it's just another option to add to your arsenal as investors. What you can choose from, and it's good for diversity. It offers a little bit of higher rate, and it's a different product than just plain stock market investments. It's on a different scale. You're lending to businesses, and it's a different environment.
Yeah, and depending on the company, like we said, if there's a recession and the stock market tanks, odds are these companies are also going to go under because they're smaller companies, they may be less efficient, and but at the same time, you can maybe find a unicorn that in a recession is better, in a recession they're not affected, or they still can manage because they're not a big bloated company. Yeah. So it can go both ways. That's why the due diligence process, when you're looking into which company to lend money to, is very important.
Yes, for sure. And if you go on the sites, you're going to see there's thousands of different companies of different scales, different industries. There's convenience stores, there's gas stations. There was once for a mushroom farm. I don't know what they were doing there, but they were asking for money.
Probably mushrooms, Ali.
I know, nice one. Tasty ones, right?
Yeah. Sorry, what?
Tasty ones. So they were asking for money. There was a restaurant asking for money once. There's accounting firms, construction firms. So really, you're going to see like a complete mixed bag of everything you can possibly find is in there.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm going to actually have a look.
Yeah, have a look.
I'm going to have a look.
You can use our referral code.
What?
You can use our referral code.
We have a referral code?
You can use mine. You can use mine.
Okay.
You can use mine and check it out. But I use Lending Loop. That's available in Canada. If you're in the UK, it's Lendy. I don't know what it is.
Do you know what your code is?
I can go check.
Oh, too late.
I know.
We're not going to have them wait.
Too late, so sad.
And by the way, a small update. Last episode when I said I was going to try the mic on the cam, I forgot to turn the mic on, which explains the same mediocre audio quality. So classic me. But now
we've hired an artistic director.
The mic on the cam is running, and back up. And then our mics should allegedly be recording.
Wonderful.
We'll find out in a sec.
Well, anyway, we hope you enjoyed this new episode with new sound from Personal Finance Boss. And as usual, you can reach us on Personal Finance Boss on Facebook or personalfinanceboss@gmail.com.
And also on YouTube.
Yes.
You want to, like Ali said last time, see our pretty faces. Then you can go there.
Very nice.
And we'll be posting different videos. I know we've been saying this for a while, but we're actually going to start doing it now that we have the equipment to do it.
And the time.
Yeah, to further help you guys reach your financial goals.
All right, guys. Thanks so much.